Welcome back. Eternal Storage has the player clearing out an abandoned storage unit that they have just purchased. In this process, the player finds a lot of junk that's worthless. Now you could just throw this stuff into a garbage truck, or maybe even donate it, but where's the fun in that? So instead, let's light it on fire. To achieve this environmentally friendly goal, we need somewhere to set this trash on fire. Since the game takes place in a large storage unit facility, why not have a sort of furnace/incinerator room with a large unit that trash can be thrown into? I found some reference images, and after a bit of modelling and texturing, I now have this furnace model. The door is a separate model that I can animate opening and closing in the engine. I just drop it into the room, and now I have to add some code to get it working. Luckily, I already have a master blueprint with functions for the player to interact with, so I can just create a child version and slot the mesh in. I can then add the door and create a timeline to animate the door. My original plan was to simply have the door hinge from the top and open. However, this created the problem that it would hit the player in the face when it opened. This is not a desirable outcome. So instead, I added some arms and reworked the animation, so now the door pulls outwards and then rotates upwards. Just watch out for when it closes. Now the furnace can open, we need to put some stuff into it. My first attempt did not turn out too well. I added a bunch of meshes of this cardboard box, arranged them inside the furnace, and then wrote some code to make them visible based on how much stuff the player was dropping into the furnace. It worked, but it had two big problems. One, I had for some reason not accounted for the fact that a storage unit would contain more than just cardboard boxes. And two, because of how I built it, space inside the furnace was limited. I could not have meshes on top of each other without creating a system to add the meshes in a specific order, or only choose a mesh if another mesh was visible first. This was a lot of hassle, so instead I threw out all the boxes and simplified the process. Instead of having lots of separate meshes to represent the junk, I would have a single mesh to represent it all. So I created this mesh of a trash pile and threw a texture of some actual trash onto it. But just having this mesh appear is no fun, so let's add some juice. No, not that kind of juice. I mean the kind that adds feeling and extra detail to a game. And to achieve this here, why not have the pile grow to simulate more junk being added to it? Now I could create a bunch of different meshes to give a good simulation of this, however I'm lazy. So instead I just changed the scale of the mesh. The system first checks how much junk you are throwing into the furnace, and then every 0.2 seconds it scales the mesh up until it reaches a value determined by how much junk you've thrown in and then stops. Now let's see how that looks, and yep, that's fine. To fix this slight issue, we just need to add a clamp to the scale value. That way, the game cannot make the pile bigger than a set size. The added benefit to this is that we can have a different clamp value for the Z-axis, so the pile can grow more vertically. Once all the trash is being added, we can just play the open animation in reverse, but just having the trash disappear is boring, so let's simulate it burning. First, I added this bright orange light inside the furnace to simulate a bright flame, but slight problem, when the furnace is closed, you can't see this light. I'm sure that won't cause any problems. Some nice ventilation holes. But now the light can be seen when the furnace is closed. I use another timeline to simulate the flickering of the flame and add some code to make the light turn on or off when the furnace is lit. I have some fire particle effects by Marquis that I purchased a while ago, so I can just drop them in and have them appear as well. But the biggest thing, to sell the idea that the trash is burning, is to add some fire sound effects. For this, I go to freesound.org and search for the finest public domain sounds available. After getting a few of them, I combine and tweak them in Audacity to get what I want. For the furnace, I am using two sounds. The first is just a basic sound of fire burning with some crackling sounds. But the second sound is for when the fire first turns on. I want a strong whooshing sound to make it feel like the inside has been engulfed in flames in less than a second. So I add some more code and trigger the sounds. Putting it all together, this is what the furnace sounds like now. Hope you enjoyed this insight into game development. Check out my game Horror Cartridge Collection in the links below, and stay tuned for more videos in future.